Often, society observes a person who prefers their own company and quickly labels them as socially anxious or even unstable. We are conditioned to believe that the hallmark of mental health is constant extroversion and a perpetually packed social calendar. However, what if that person sitting alone in a corner wasn't hiding from the world out of fear, but rather observing it with a level of detail that would overwhelm the average mind? This individual, often dismissed as the odd one out, may actually be a high-resolution observer. Their silence isn't emptiness, but rather a sophisticated data-gatherer process. They are busy absorbing every micro-expression, every subtle change in tone of voice, and every unspoken tension that most people are simply too distracted to notice or understand. The concept of the silent genius challenges our traditional academic definitions of intelligence, which generally focus on rapid speech and a complex vocabulary. True cognitive power often manifests itself in ways that seem eccentric to the untrained eye. When you see someone talking to themselves while walking or staring intently at a seemingly mundane object, you're not witnessing a breakdown of logic. Instead, you're seeing a brain functioning like a high-resolution simulator. This person is running internal scenarios, testing outcomes, and building complex mental models of the world around them. For them, internal dialogue is a necessary tool for organizing the massive flow of information that others ignore. It's a mental workshop where they construct solutions to problems that society hasn't even realized exist yet. The habit of talking aloud to oneself is often misunderstood as a sign of mental confusion, but in psychological terms, it's indicative of superior cognitive functioning. For the high-resolution observer, the mind moves so fast and processes so many variables that verbalizing thoughts becomes an essential way to anchor them. This externalized self-dialogue serves as a cognitive scaffold, allowing the individual to manipulate complex ideas in real time. It is essentially a way of transferring cognitive demand to the auditory system, making abstract patterns tangible and manageable. When they talk to themselves, they are not disconnected from reality. They are deepening their engagement with it. They are refining their predictions and ensuring that every detail of their internal simulation corresponds to the intricate reality they perceive daily in the external environment. Let's address the antisocial label that is so often wrongly applied to these powerful minds. For a brain that processes micro-expressions and environmental cues at high resolution, a simple social interaction can be incredibly draining. While most people see only casual conversation, the silent genius sees a chaotic storm of nonverbal signals, hidden agendas, and emotional inconsistencies. Maintaining a tiny social circle is not an act of it is a calculated decision to conserve vital cognitive energy. They choose to avoid superficial interactions because their minds cannot help but analyze the emptiness and predictability within them. It's a protective filter, a way to ensure that your mental resources are dedicated to things that truly matter, instead of being drained by the exhausting scripts of conventional social politeness. The core of this unique cognitive engine is a hyper-awareness of detail that most people simply miss. While the world sees a series of random events, the high-resolution observer sees a narrative of cause and effect written in invisible ink. They notice the slight twitch in a colleague's eye that signals a hidden lie, or the subtle shift in market trends long before the charts show any change. This isn't magic. It's the result of a brain that never stops scanning for patterns. This constant background processing creates an intuition so sharp it can seem almost supernatural. They aren't overthinking in a negative sense. They are simulating multiple paths and identifying hidden risks. Their mind is a radar system that identifies icebergs while everyone else focuses only on surface waves. There is an inherent conflict between the pursuit of unfiltered truth and a social system that demands blind obedience and constant conformity. Most social structures are built on shared illusions and polite lies that keep the gears turning without friction. For the person who sees the world in high resolution, these illusions are transparent and often frustrating. They can't simply fall in line because their brain has already calculated the flaws in the system and the inevitable results of following a logically broken path. This creates constant friction between their internal reality and external expectations. They are often punished for their honesty or for their behavior considered strange, but it is precisely this refusal to ignore the truth that makes them the innovators and problem solvers the world desperately needs in times of crisis. If you've ever felt like an outsider because you prefer the silence of your own thoughts to the noise of a crowded room, it's time to reshape your perspective. Your need for solitude is not a character flaw, and your tendency to question the why behind every social norm is not a sign of empty rebellion. It's the signature of a powerful mind that requires a different environment to thrive. You are probably an individual who values depth over breadth and substance over superficial style. This realization is the first step in reclaiming your identity from the labels others have forced upon you. Your daydream is in fact a sophisticated mental workshop where you are building the future. One simulated outcome at a time, far from the judgmental eyes of the masses who don't understand your process. Recognizing your own cognitive style is essential for mental health and continuous personal growth. Many observers spend years trying to fix themselves, thinking they are broken because they don't enjoy the same things as their peers. But once you understand that your brain is simply tuned to a different frequency, the world begins to make sense again. You stop apologizing for your limitations and begin to embrace your unique way of processing the world. If you identify with what's being said here, share your story in the comments or leave a like and subscribe. This simple act of connection can help you realize you're not as alone as you think. There's a whole community of quiet geniuses out there navigating the same challenges and uncovering the same hidden truths. The experience of hyperperception can be both an extraordinary gift and a heavy burden to bear. Imagine entering a room and being unable to ignore the flickering of a light, the scent of someone 3 meters away, and the subtle tension between two people conversing in the hallway. For the high-resolution observer, the world is noisy even in absolute silence. This is why antisocial behavior is often a necessary survival mechanism. By limiting their exposure to high-stimulus environments, they are preventing paralyzing sensory and cognitive overload. It's not that they hate people, it's that they feel everything with overwhelming intensity. When they withdraw, they are retreating to a space where they can finally process the massive amount of data collected without the constant noise of new information. In professional setting, these individuals are often the ones who see disaster coming months before it happens, because they process patterns and risks at high resolution. They can identify the small cracks in a project's logic that others ignore in their rush to meet deadlines. However, because they don't always communicate their findings in the standard corporate way, they are frequently overlooked or labeled as pessimists. The reality is that they are the greatest realists there are. Overthinking is in fact a rigorous stress test for every idea presented. Companies that learn to value these silent observers find they possess an internal early warning system far more accurate than any software. They provide the radical intuition needed to change course when everyone else is blindly following a flawed strategy. We should also address how anxiety is often used as a catch-all term for anyone who is highly sensitive to their environment. While clinical anxiety is a real challenge, the anxiety of the high-resolution observer is often just the brain doing its job, identifying potential threats and logical outcomes. When your mind is capable of seeing 20 different ways a situation could go wrong, it's natural to feel a sense of urgency or caution. Instead of medicating the strangeness, we should seek ways to channel this underlying cognitive power. By understanding the mechanics of their own minds, these individuals can transform what seems like fear into an unparalleled strategic advantage. It's about ceasing to be a victim of their perceptions and becoming the absolute master of their own internal simulator and visionary of solutions. The constant questioning of why is another clear fingerprint of the high-resolution cognitive engine. While others are content to follow instructions simply because it's always been done that way, the silent genius needs to understand the fundamental logic behind the action. This isn't about being difficult or rebellious. It's about the need for structural integrity in their mental models. If the why doesn't make sense, the entire internal simulation collapses. This drive for radical truth is what truly drives disruptive innovation. It's the force that breaks obsolete traditions and finds more efficient and honest ways of living and working. Even if this makes them seem complicated in the eyes of authority, this commitment to logical consistency is what allows them to construct mental workshops that eventually provide the answers to the most complex problems. Contrary to the cold stereotype of the genius, high-resolution observers often possess a deep and sensitive emotional complexity. Their ability to notice microexpressions means they can sense the pain or discomfort of others even before the person themselves has fully recognized it. This can lead to a state of emotional exhaustion, as they are constantly absorbing the unfiltered feelings of those around them. Their solitude is therefore also a necessary emotional reset. It's a way to separate their own feelings from the sea of others' emotions they perceive in the world. When they choose to connect with someone, that connection is usually deep, loyal, and meaningful. They don't have time for hundreds of superficial acquaintances, but to the few they let into their inner sanctuary. They offer a level of understanding and empathy that is extremely rare. The journey of the silent genius often ends in a place of radical and liberating self. It's the moment you realize that your supposed flaws were, in fact, your greatest strengths all along. You stop trying to fit into the Lorenzo Lucy world and begin to create a life that respects your need for depth and processing time. You begin to value your inner dialogue and self-talk as the sophisticated tools they truly are. Instead of fearing your ability to see patterns, you begin to fully trust your radical intuition. You realize that being strange in a world that is often blind to the truth is, in fact, a badge of honor. You are the one who sees reality unfiltered. And while that truth may be heavy, it is what gives you the unique power to navigate life. As we conclude this exploration of the high-resolution mind, remember that your uniqueness is your most valuable asset in an increasingly automated and superficial world. While others are distracted by the incessant noise, you have the rare ability to see the real signs. Your solitude is not exile. It's your innovation laboratory. Your anxiety is often just your radar working at full capacity to protect and guide you. Embrace the labels of strange and use your mental workshop to create the solutions that only you can see. We need your patterns, your simulations, and your radical honesty now more than ever. That way, I'll know you're enjoying the content. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Leave your ideas in the comments about what we can cover on the channel. Thank you for being part of this journey.